There's this myth that the brain changes with every experience. That's not actually true. That's interesting you mentioned too about the techniques. Some of these conditioning techniques or combinations of things will seem like arbitrary or silly almost, right? Like they will. And it's kind of like, what? Like, really? That's what, like, for example, if I told you that to help a child have better emotional self-control, teach him how to juggle. That sounds so stupid, but it's not, because there's a disconnect between neurons between left and right hemispheres, which causes sometimes kids to get caught in these emotional patterns that they struggle to get out of. You have kids with these temper tantrums, they can't get control of themselves, right? Or they, have uncontrollable like fears or crying or something like that. And they're trying to develop, and their brain is still developing. Well, to help that brain develop and, help some neurons carry over, right? And help with neural connectivity while their brain has the most plasticity. Teaching them how to juggle and stimulate the hemispheres will help their emotional development. Now, that sounds crazy. Will I teach my kid how to juggle? Like what the hell? Teach him how to paint left-handed? Like, why is this? You know what I mean? Like, but these are these things that seem silly, but then when you look at what the brain is doing, yep, and how the neurons are responding to this stuff, you're going, oh, that makes sense. EMDR is one of those things. I was like, yeah, go ahead.
When I was in university, I got my bachelor's in science and psychology. And one of the professors I had at the University of Central Florida, he at the first day of class, he's like, I just want to let you guys know, we're going to talk about brain chemistry, rerouting everything. And he says, by the end of the year, or by the end of the semester, he's like, I challenge you guys to learn how to juggle, because I want you to rewire your brain and witness the process. And he's like, everybody who learns how to juggle will get extra credit. And I fucking taught myself how to juggle. I can juggle. I'm not phenomenal, but I can juggle. Right. I can juggle 3 balls. Right. And it's crazy to witness the learning process as long as you just focus yourself to go through it. So that's phenomenal that you just brought that up as well.
Yeah. And so let's look at like what that process is, because we want to look at that as to how we recondition thoughts and behavior and belief patterns, right? And so there's this myth that the brain changes with every experience. That's not actually true from what they're finding. But what is true is that intentionality will cause where you put your intentions and your focus is what will cause an experience to change your brain or change those neural connections and learn or unlearn behavior. And so that's an important component of this. And I mentioned that for EMDR as well, because with EMDR, you want to be able to have intention with the activity that you're doing. And so what happens is, let's say that toxic breakup, right? Or whatever, the guys are just getting over it. They're ruminating, they're thinking about it. This is what normally happens. So I'm going to give it time. I'm just sort of, and they're figuring it out. They're trying to figure out the logical format of it. The brain says, you know what, if we figure out the truth and understand it, then we can avoid danger in the future. So in seeking understanding, we start seeking information out. This is not a bad response initially, but what happens is it leads to confirmation bias to distressing emotions. So when you're coming from a place of distressed emotions, right, or we'll just call it anxiety for lack of a better term, because I don't mean clinical anxiety, but just distress, right. All right, your brain is not looking for truth in an objective manner. Your brain is looking to have confirm and look for those reasons to confirm the distress. Oh, see, this is why I'm distressed, that thing, that sign, this thing she did there, this thing that happened there. And so it's ruminating and doing this. And that's actually addictive, because thinking and going after the distress and trying to understand the distress and circling and spinning around in circles and circles and circles and circles, doing that day, night, I can't sleep, I'm still thinking about her. This is addictive now. You're now hammering in neurochemicals that are rewarding thinking about and ruminating over distress. And so this is what happens with this generalized anxiety people get into, why they don't get over breakups like they should, and why they carry the baggage into next relationships, because they're just doing this, and it's self-rewarding, it's self-perpetuating. And so what we have to actually do is stop that pattern, and recondition a new pattern so that we're not coming at it from a point of distress. If I'm seeking out information from a distressed place, I'm going to, anything I find is going to then support the confirmation bias I have for the danger that I'm seeking. So if I'm worried about my girl cheating on me, I start going through her phone, start looking at what she's doing. Now she had a conversation with her girlfriend and she referenced me in a way that was very casual. I look at that as, oh, she's looking at me like, you know what I mean? I'm not her sexual best. She wouldn't refer to me like that. Like she probably referred to her ex who she wanted better than me. And then I start looking and, oh, this guy sought her out, or, she had a brief conversation with some guy from work. Now, oh, she's probably wanting to screw that guy. You see what I mean? Like you just start you start looking for these reasons to protect yourself because that's the defense mechanism. Distress says, let me magnify all this information so I can see any potential distress, because then I can avoid a problem or I can take action to avoid it. Yeah, this is great for survival. It's better to be way overly cautious in a survival situation, right? But that's not going to let you complete the mission. Okay. Completing that mission would be having happiness and having a healthy relationship, Sure. So you could respond to distress and destroy all your relationships.